outs about when you go to a dinner party, what proper etiquette is. Our etiquette expert, Kimberly is here to help us out with that. People make a lot of mistakes sometimes, don't they?
Sometimes, yes, they do.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning when we're looking at this. Let's say I want to host a dinner party. How do I go about that?
Okay, well, I think the first thing is to decide the formality of the dinner party. What is going to be happening? Is it going to be a very formal inside event, or is it going to be an outside event as well? Because you need to let your guests know what's expected of them, what time the meal will be starting, what time they're expected to be there, and it's even a good idea to indicate what time the party or gathering dinner will be finished as well.
Really?
In the invitation, yes.
But do you want your guests to stay longer, and if it's okay? And
well, if you want your guests to stay longer, then yes, you wouldn't necessarily have to indicate that, but if you do have a finishing time for the gathering, it's always a good idea to let your guests know what time that will be as well.
Okay, no, but there's a proper way to also invite people, isn't there?
Yes. The key is that you would want to invite everybody the same way. So it's okay to send out a formal written invitation. You can email people, or you can just call them, invite them, and invite them for dinner. But you need to be consistent with the way you do it. So if you have already invited everybody with a written invitation, you wouldn't want to suddenly call somebody at the last minute and say, why don't you come over for dinner that night?
That would be bad.
It would be.
Okay, so is there anything else that I need to know when I'm hosting it, and sort of to make it easier for the guests?
Well, one of the things you could do ahead of time is to find out if your guest has any food allergies or eating restrictions, because people may not be able to eat certain things for certain reasons, whether it's diet restrictions or cultural restrictions to diet, that kind of thing. You would also want to let the guests know what's expected as far as whether it's a more formal gathering, and if
like what to wear,
that kind of thing. If it's a BYOB or a potluck situation, that's a nice, inexpensive way to invite close friends and family. But you would want to restrict it to close friends and family, not in a more formal gathering where you don't know the people that well.
And you mentioned BYOB, so if a guest shows up with a gift, as most guests do when you have a dinner party, and it's a bottle of wine, what does that mean? That
would be meant to be a gift for the host, unless it's been indicated in the invitation for the guest to bring something.
So you don't have to open it with the guests there?
Nope. You don't.
Even if they say, let's open that wine that we brought and see how that tastes.
Well, a guest might do that, but and as the host, you want to make sure your guests are comfortable and feel relaxed in the environment, so of course you would open it in that situation. But if it hasn't been indicated in the invitation for the guest to bring something, then it should be considered a gift, and the host would have already provided wine for the meal.
Okay, now a lot of onus at the dinner party is on the guest. When you get there, how should you behave? What do we have to remember?
Well, I think that when you arrive, you want, first of all, arrive on time, dressed according to the occasion.
Right.
And if you need to be late for whatever reason, always call ahead of time. Let the host know that you are going to be late. And then also insist that the host start dinner or the meal at the time that has been indicated. And when you do arrive, then you would want to basically sit down and eat the course that's being served at that particular time, not expect to be served from the beginning.
Right. So just be polite. It sounds like this is basic politeness that a lot of people forget.
It is being politeness. I mean, as a guest, you have to consider the fact that the host has put a lot of work into the dinner party or gathering. They've also, there's an expense that goes with that as well. So it's really just about good manners.
Yeah, and the host has spent a lot of time cooking. So when you're at the table, don't be asking for extra stuff.
No. One of the things that comes up quite a bit is, sometimes you won't see ketchup or HP sauce sitting on the table. So in that situation, don't ask for it. It could be considered an insult to the host, in essence. And that goes for
salt and pepper. Well, I always forget to put salt and pepper on the table. So if I forget, if somebody asks me for it, they can ask me for it, can't they?
Well, if it's, a very close friend or family situation, then it probably will come up. But if it's a more formal gathering where you don't know your host very well, then you shouldn't be asking for the salt or pepper if you don't see it on the table.
Not even that. Okay. And once the dinner's over, everything has gone well, how do you thank the person for that appropriately?
When you get home, it's always a nice gesture to create or write a nice handwritten thank you note. It can be emailed, or a phone call is nice as well, but in the day of technology, which we're in now, anything handwritten always goes over really nicely.
Well, all of a sudden, something handwritten is really special, isn't it?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
Well, that is excellent advice to follow. Hopefully lots of people will use it. Thanks very much for joining us, Kimberly. It's 8:28. You're watching Breakfast Television.